How's it going, my peeps? It is now time for the Raw results / highlights and review video. I'll go over the results, some of the highlights in my opinion, and give you guys my thoughts, my review on the show. So it kicks off with Randy, the champion, coming out. He goes over what happened last week with the Big Show getting rehired, getting the title shot at Survivor Series, says he's gonna beat him. And then he says, since Triple H and Stephanie McMahon are on vacation, he's in charge of Raw. But then Maddox comes out, and he's all like, no, you know, I'm the general manager, and I appreciate you trying to help. And he says that, you know, he's the GM. But then Kane comes out, and Kane says he's the director of operations. That's his new role, so he's in charge when Stephanie McMahon and Triple H aren't there. And then Maddox says, no, it's okay. He's been doing this for a while, so he goes ahead and announces a matchup, says that Randy's going to be facing off against one half of the tag team champions, Cody Rhodes. And then Kane says, no, he's going to be facing off against Goldust. And then they argue for a bit until, actually, Randy tells them, come on, make up your mind, he can't be facing off against both of them. And then Vickie comes out, and the crowd just boos the hell out of her. So she says, excuse me, like 3 times or so during her speech. And she makes the matchup. She says, you know, she has so much confidence in Randy's in-ring abilities that she's going to put him in a handicap match. It's going to be Randy versus Cody and Goldust in a handicap match. So then, fast forward to the matchup, which is like right after the announcement, you know, Cody and Goldust make their entrance. And towards the end of the match, Cody and Goldust clothesline Randy out of the ring. And then he just decides to not go back in the ring and gets himself counted out. That's when the Big Show's music hits. He comes out, and Randy's like surrounded. Well, actually, you've got the Big Show getting, you know, walking down the ramp, and he's got Cody and Goldust inside the ring, so he doesn't know where to go. So he just confronts the Big Show, tries to attack him, but Big Show beats him up. He shoves him onto the steel steps. And then he grabs the steel steps, puts them up, like, right in front of the announcer's table, or right next to it, like John Cena does sometimes when he hits the attitude adjustment onto the announcer's table. And he grabs Randy, and then chokeslams him from the top of the steel steps onto, or through, the announcer's table. And that was it for the initial segments. Pretty cool way to start the show there. And, pretty cool way also to change things up a bit, I guess, rather than just chokeslamming him through the announcer's table the normal way, just put the steel steps in there. So, like, Randy was pretty high up on that chokeslam before landing through the announcer's table. And then, like, the medics and a few refs, I believe, checked on Randy. After that, it was Los Matadores coming out for a tag team matchup against, I mean, it was 3MB, but they came out as the Union Jacks, which I'm assuming is just a temporary name, and also their attires was pretty much like the England flag, and the crowd was actually cheering for 3MB. They were chanting 3MB, even though, you know, they just changed their name. But yeah, they were chanting, well, 3MB is easier to chant anyways than Union Jack. So, yeah, it was 3MB versus Los Matadores and Santino Marella 6-man tag team match. Santino and Los Matadores end up winning after Santino hits a Cobra on Jinder Mahal. After that, backstage, you've got Randy getting iced, you know, getting his shoulder ice from the chokeslam through the announcer's table. And then Maddox comes up to him and he's like, sorry, the match wasn't my idea. And then Vickie also comes in, and she's also apologizing. And Randy says he doesn't want to hear it, tells him to get out. And then Kane also comes in, and he's about to say something, but Randy tells him he doesn't want to hear it. He says he doesn't want to listen to him, to you, you know, talking about Maddox, Vickie, and Kane. And Kane says, oh, you're going to listen to me, because I'm the director of operations, and if you keep mouthing off, then Big Show won't be your only problem. And then they all leave, and after that, it was Damien Sandow versus Kofi Kingston in a one-on-one matchup. Damien Sandow ended up winning the matchup when Kofi went for a springboard move, but Damien Sandow kind of pushed the ropes, so Kofi fell down, and then he followed that up with the full Nelson Slam and got the victory. And then It was an Intercontinental Championship matchup, Curtis Axel versus Dolph Ziggler, due to Dolph's non-title victory over Curtis Axel. And this was actually a pretty great matchup. I really enjoyed the match. One of the highlights in the matchup, you had Dolph Ziggler hitting, well, Curtis Axel climbed up the top turnbuckle, or was it the second turnbuckle? I'm not sure. One of the turnbuckles, second, third, doesn't matter. And Dolph caught up to him, ran up to him, jumped on the turnbuckle, and hit a top turnbuckle facebuster on Curtis Axel. And in the end, Dolph Ziggler went for the zigzag, but Curtis Axel was hanging on to the ropes, and then Dolph charged Curtis Axel, and Curtis Axel catapulted Dolph up. Dolph fell down on the mat, and then he picked him up, hit his neckbreaker finisher, got the victory, and retained the Intercontinental Championship. Afterwards, backstage, you've got Kane and Brad Maddox. Kane tells Brad Maddox he better start listening to him and show him some respect. And then Brad Maddox makes another handicap match, John Cena versus the Real Americans, Jack Swagger and Antonio Cesaro. Kane says he likes that, and he likes the whole handicap match thing, so he's going to make a handicap match of his own. It's going to be the Shields versus Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. And then Brad Maddox also likes that and extends his hand for Kane to shake it, telling him to let's shake on that, and Kane says let's not. Following that, it was Tamina versus Nikki Bella, and AJ Lee was at ringside in Tamina's corner, as well as Brie Bella in Nikki's corner. And towards the end of the match, AJ Lee grabs Brie Bella, and kind of hits her head on the apron. And that kind of distracts Nikki Bella, so Tamina hits her with a big boot, and then she climbs up the top turnbuckle, hits the Superfly Splash, wins the matchup. After the match, Brie Bella gets in the ring, she drop kicks AJ, but then Tamina grabs a hold of her, but Brie Bella also takes out Tamina. And then you've got Randy backstage once again. This time the Shield comes up to him, and he yells at them, telling them, where they were. Talking about how last week they were kicking the Big Show's ass. This week, Randy was getting his ass, handed to him by the Big Show, and they were nowhere to be seen. And then they say, that it's none of Randy's business where they were, and they certainly don't work for Randy. And that was it for that. And then Fandango came out for a matchup against Tyson Kidd, and they showed some footage from Total Divas where I think it was, Natalia was training with Fandango, and Tyson Kidd kind of got jealous. So, as far as the matchup goes, in the end of the match, towards the end, Tyson Kidd he sent Fandango on the outside of the ring, and then he went on the apron, and from the apron hit a Hurricane Rana on Fandango. And then he brought him back in the ring, hit a springboard sunset flip, but Fandango turned that into his own pin and pinned Tyson Kidd. After that, he rolled out the ring right away, and Fandango defeats Tyson Kidd. Afterwards, it was another handicap matchup, John Cena versus the Real Americans, a match made by Brad Maddox, and this was much better than the Randy versus Cody and Goldust matchup. This one actually, there was a clear winner. It wasn't a disqualification or countouts. John Cena ended up winning the matchup, but it was a nice match, entertaining match. You had Jack Swagger locking on the Patriot Lock. He tried to put it on twice. First time around, Cena got out of it. Second time, he actually got it on, but eventually Cena got out. And Antonio Cesaro hit his uppercut twice. At one point, John Cena was going for his shoulder tackles. He hits Jack Swagger with a shoulder tackle. Then he goes for one on Antonio Cesaro, but Antonio Cesaro catches him with the uppercut. And then the second time, Antonio Cesaro hit it the classic way by just catapulting Cena up and then hitting the uppercuts. And Antonio went for the neutralizer, but he didn't get it. In the end, John Cena hit a crossbody on Jack Swagger from the top turnbuckle, and then he clotheslined Antonio Cesaro out of the ring. Jack Swagger tried to attack John Cena, but John Cena tripped him and locked on the STF. Jack Swagger taps out. After the match, Antonio Cesaro gets in the ring and starts headbutting John Cena. But John Cena eventually gets the advantage. He takes out Swagger out of the ring. Takes out the Real Americans out of the ring. And then Del Rio attacks him with a steel chair, and he puts John Cena's arm in between the chair and starts stomping on it, and then locks on the cross arm breaker with John Cena's arm in between the chair still. But then Biggie Langston comes running down the ramp, and he grabs Del Rio and just throws him out the ring, and that was it for that. After that, backstage, Del Rio was, telling Vickie and Kane and Brad Maddox, did you see what I did to John Cena? And he tells Vickie and them to tell Biggie Langston to keep his nose out of his business. But then they make Del Rio versus Biggie Langston in a one-on-one matchup. And then Ryback faces off against R-Truth. Crowd was very quiet for this matchup. The crowd was very loud at some points, but at the same time, for some matches, they were really, really quiet. For instance, like this one. And when R-Truth came out and did his rap, he actually rapped a bit about Ryback, making fun of him. And R-Truth actually won the matchup. Ryback went for the meat hook clothesline, but R-Truth ducked, so freaking Ryback hits the turnbuckle, and then R-Truth rolls him up, gets a 1-2-3, and wins the match. Langston then took on Del Rio. Towards the end of the match, Langston hits his clothesline, takes off the straps to prepare for the big ending, picks Del Rio up on his shoulders, but Del Rio gets off, locks on the cross arm breaker, and Biggie Langston ends up tapping out. Following that was a surprise. It was Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman in a wheelchair in the ring with Curtis Axel. He talks about how this happened, and he says, but CM Punk, didn't do this on his own. Because CM Punk on his own is no match for Paul Heyman or something along those lines. And he says CM Punk had some help in that big, ugly, and then he says Ryback, that big, ugly Ryback. And so right there I was like, oh, looks like Ryback is no longer a Paul Heyman guy, or never was, or I don't know. But it looks like Paul Heyman is no longer associating himself with Ryback. And he blames Ryback for, for this happening to Paul Heyman. And says that Ryback was biting off more than he could chew with CM Punk. And goes on to talk about how he's going to get revenge on CM Punk. And then CM Punk comes out, and Paul Heyman starts panicking. Curtis Axel gets out of the ring to assault CM Punk, attack CM Punk. But CM Punk ends up having to go to sleep on Curtis Axel. He then goes in the ring, spins Paul Heyman around in the wheelchair, then throws him off the wheelchair and grabs a kendo stick. Well, actually grabbed the kendo stick before going in the ring. And then he started beating Paul Heyman up with the kendo stick, hitting him with the kendo stick on his back like a bunch of times like he did at Hell in a Cell. And then one last kendo shot to the back. And then Daniel Bryan made his entrance for their handicap match against The Shield. It was a pretty good matchup. At some point, you had Daniel Bryan and CM Punk double teaming Roman Reigns, hitting kicks one after the other, and then they Irish whip Roman Reigns, but Roman Reigns comes back with a double clothesline on both Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, so Roman Reigns looking strong. And at the end of the match, CM Punk was the legal man. He hits a go to sleep on Roman Reigns, ends up locking in the Anaconda Vice on Ambrose, and then the lights go out, or the signal for the Wyatt family shows up, and once the lights come back on, you've got Eric and Luke Harper in the ring, and Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, they kind of push the Shield into the Wyatts, and then Luke Harper, I think it was Luke, Luke pushes, I think, Seth Rollins off of him, and then they start arguing, the Shields and Luke and Eric Harper. Actually, it was more so Seth Rollins arguing with them at first. And then Dean Ambrose came in to kind of like separate Seth Rollins from the Wyatt family. But then he starts arguing as well with the Wyatt family. And on the outside, you've also got Reigns and Bray Wyatt arguing. And then they all start to fight. So the Shield, Seth Rollins and Ambrose fight in the ring with Luke and Eric Harper. And well, actually, it's Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. And on the outside, Bray Wyatt hits the first punch on Roman Reigns, so they fight. It was pretty cool, and the fans were really into it. It was an awesome moment. But at some point, they end up breaking it up, and Bray Wyatt is just like, you know, we've got a common enemy. And then they look at Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, who are now on the outside of the ring looking on. And so they get out of the ring to go after Daniel Bryan and Punk, but Bryan and Punk go back in the ring. And now they're kind of surrounded, but then the Usos and also Cody and Goldust come running down the ring, so it's an all-out brawl. Usos, Cody and Goldust, Bryan and Punk fighting off the Shield and the Wyatt family. They end up taking all the heels out of the ring, so they take out the Wyatts and the Shield, and all the faces, Cody, Goldust, the Usos, Bryan and Punk, stand tall to end the show. So awesome ending to end the show. And yeah, man, highlights, definitely that was a freaking highlight of the show right there. The Shield and the Wyatts fighting, that was the highlights. That was awesome, and the crowd loved it. I loved it. Also, the beginning of the show with Big Show chokeslamming Randy from the steel steps through the announcer's table. And the handicap match, John Cena versus the Real Americans, that was an entertaining handicap match. And also Curtis Axel versus Dolph Ziggler, enjoyed that match as well. You know what, it was a good Raw. I enjoyed Raw tonight, and thought they had a great ending to the show and a great beginning to the show as well. So as far as a rating for the show, I'd give it a 7.5 to 8 on 10. Anyways, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for tomorrow. I'll be posting up some 2K14 gameplay involving the new DLC characters. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And don't forget to leave your comments on the roulette for the matches you want to see, and if you see the matchup you want to see already in a comment, make sure to thumbs that up, because the comment with the most thumbs up on the roulette, that's the match I'm going to play next. Anyways, I'm out, guys. See ya.